Guys, it is Jake from the Sanctum squad. So today I'm going to be looking at the Enneacraft cards, which is like one of the new decks from the Phantom Revenge pack that's coming out. Yeah, so what I've noticed so far is like this deck is really good at just amassing card advantage, but like I'm not really sure yet how you actually leverage that into winning the game, which I'm only going to be able to learn once the cards are like put onto EDO Pro to be able to like test them. But yeah, so like all the little ones, because they all have this pendulum effect, the little ones are all just 3-ofs, which makes this deck incredibly consistent. Yeah, so and then for the monster effects, every monster has this effect, even the big guys. So you can reveal it in your hand, special summon a monster from your hand in face down defense position, and you cannot special summon the turn you activate this effect except in face down defense position, which is a really harsh lock. So this is going to lock you out from a lot of stuff. First of all, it turns off your extra deck completely. Yeah, so like it's going to be very difficult to find things to sort of mix this deck with. So it probably is going to be like played as a pure deck, which is fine. Like so long as the deck has a win condition in and of itself, I don't mind like a deck just only being able to be played pure. I will say as well that because every card has this effect, it does mean that your normal summon is completely free, which like lets you use cards like this one, which is included in the pack. Spirit of the Forewind. On normal summon, it just searches for a flip monster, so it searches any monster in the archetype, which is pretty good. I also think it's possible that like people can be scumbags and use cards like Vanity's Fiend and stuff like that in this deck because it's not really gonna hinder you too much. Yeah, and it's gonna be like a win condition in and of itself. So they all have that effect to summon from hand, and then it says when your opponent activates a monster effect in hand, quick effect, you can change this set card to face up defense position and add an Enneacraft card from your deck to your hand. And then it's got a third effect that says when it's flip face up, destroy one monster your opponent controls. So the quick effect to flip itself face up is a little bit weird. I'm not sure how that's going to work. Like I'm not sure if it's going to be like a cost to flip it up or whether it's all going to happen on resolution or whatnot. Like I don't think it can flip itself up, flip itself up on cost. I'm not sure. Like I don't think that's a mechanic that's ever existed in the game. But this card is cool, so you can like drop it as one of your first actions if you want to, and then if your opponent drops a hand trap on you, you can chain the effects, and then it'll let you search for an Enneacraft card. Like this is one of the better ones I think so far because like the four little ones, they all have like they are all basically the same card in the terms of being a pendulum monster, but you have unique effects as monsters. And I think this is one of the better ones. So yeah, so that's it for the red one, and then we got the yellow one. So what I've noticed so far is I've been gravitating towards the yellow one in terms of setting up my first turn board the most, because this one seems like it's got the easiest effect to trigger. So it's got the same pendulum effect, pay 9, reveal 3, add 1 at random. Gains the counters when you flip stuff up, and then it's got the same effect, reveal it in your hand, special summon a monster from your hand in face down defense position, and then it's got the lock, and then its unique effect says when your opponent activates a card or effect that includes an effect to add a card from deck to hand, quick effect, you can change it from set to face up defense position, add an Enneacraft card from your deck to your hand, and then when it's flip face up, you can banish a random card from your hand face up until the end phase. So what's really nice about this one as well is that like it doesn't require any sort of like timing or anything. Like you're not going to be waiting for a certain point to flip this card up. You can just flip this up and feel good about it. Like it doesn't it's got no sort of like it's not going to depend on what your opponent's doing. You're probably just going to flick this up at the earliest convenience and just get the effect off, which is why I think this is probably the best one out of the little ones. So yeah, that's it for the yellow one. Pretty cool card. And then we got the blue one. So this one's a little bit iffy. So like obviously it's got all of the same pendulum effects. It's got the same summon from hand effect. But this one says when your opponent activates a card or effect that includes special summoning a monsters. Quick effect, you can change it from set to face up defense position, add an Enneacraft card from your deck to your hand, and then it says if this card is flip face up, negate the effects of one effect monster your opponent controls until the end of the turn. So the problem with this card that I've noticed is it's a mandatory effect. So if you think about this card in the context of cards that will be special summoning themselves, so say for instance you've got this set on your field, and then in your opponent's turn they activate an Izuna in hand. So what would usually happen is the Azuna would get summoned, and then because of turn player priority, Azuna would usually go as chain link 1, and then this would go as chain link 2. But because it's mandatory, it has to go as chain link 1. So what's going to happen is you're going to activate your effect to negate Azuna, and then Azuna is going to chain to it, and then send Lupus. So like your effect kind of misses its target, if that makes sense. But yeah, like it's still a good card because like it's got the same pendulum effect. You're still going to play through of it. I think this is one. This is one of the ones that you might not necessarily prioritise in putting on your end board though. And then we've got the green one. So the green one again is a little bit like the blue one, where it's got like a little bit of an issue. Same pendulum effects, same effect summon from hand, and then it says when your opponent activates a card or effect in the grave or banishment, quick effect, you can change this set card to face up defense position, add an Enneacraft card from your deck to your hand, and then it says if it's flip face up, you can shuffle up to three. It's mandatory. Shuffle up to 3 cards from your opponent's grave and or banishment into the deck. So this one again is a little bit like the blue one, where it might miss its target. So say for instance your opponent activates an engraver in the graveyard to summon itself. Then this card is going to chain to flip itself up, and then in a new chain it's going to shuffle your opponent's cards from the grave back into the deck, which means that like you might be shuffling cards that might not necessarily matter because the engraver's already hit the field. So yeah, but again you're going to play 3 of it because it's got the strong pendulum effect. And then we've got the big guys. So we got Leon. For the big guys, they've all got the same pendulum effects as each other. So each time a monster's flip face up, place a Synquisition counter on this card, and then it says at the end of the battle phase, if you have an Enneacraft card in your other pendulum zone, you can target a monster your opponent controls with lower attack than this card and destroy it. And it's got 3,000, which is pretty big. All of the big guys have 3,000 attack, and they all have this effect. And so like this is probably how you're going to be trying to break boards going second, because this deck doesn't really have attackers because everything summons in face down defense position. So yeah, like this, I think this is going to be one of the deck's issues, is it's going to struggle going second, which is just like probably an inherent problem of flip decks probably. And then we got so it's 2 unique effects. So it says when your opponent activates a card or effect in response to the activation of your card or effect, quick effect, you can change this set card to face up defense position, and then return 3 cards on the field to the hand. So this is pretty good. So say you are going second, you can just special summon this card from like face down, and then you can activate a card, and then if your opponent tries to disrupt one of your cards, you can chain this to flip it up and then potentially bounce 3 of their cards. And then it also says each time a card is added to your opponent's hand by their card effects while you control this monster, flip face up, inflict 900 damage to them for each. So it's just a little bit of burn damage. I think like it's probably inconsequential. But yeah, so Leon's pretty cool. Leon is one of the 2 monsters that sort of helps you go second. So yeah, he's probably going to be included in the deck. And then we've got the red one. I'm not sure what animal this is meant to be. I want to say a fox, but I'm not sure. So again, it's got the same pendulum effect as Leon, and then it's got the same hand effect as all of them. And then for the unique effects, it says when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a card you control, quick effect, you can change this set card to face up defense position, negate that effect, then you can banish 1 random card from your opponent's hand face down. And then it says when it's flip effect, like its flip effects almost, is your opponent cannot target cards on the field or in the graveyards with card effects while you control this monster flip face up. So it even affects their own graveyard, which is pretty good. So yeah, I think this one is quite good. I think this is one that you probably want to put on your end board, because this deck does actually like set like 4 or 5 monsters on the very first turn. So one of the ways that your opponent is likely to like try and be playing through that board is through like targeting effects. So I think this card is pretty good as well, and it's sort of like the yellow one where it's bonus effects to banish a card out of the opponent's hand. You can do that at like any time and it will be good. Like it doesn't need to. You don't need to think about like specific timing where you want to activate that effect, like where you might do with the little red one or the little blue one or maybe even the little green one. So yeah, this card's pretty cool. I like it. And then we've got the whale. So this is the one that we saw the artwork of first. So it's got the same pendulum effects as the other big ones. Got the same effects summon from hand, and then it says when your opponent activates a card or effect on the field during your turn. So this is what makes it a little bit iffy. It's pretty good going second, but I wish it was like, yeah, well, it says on the field, so like it's not likely to be played into when you go first anyway. You can change this set card to face up defense position, negate the activation if you do destroy that card. So yeah, so like this is pretty good. Like when you go second, it's going to be a little bit of protection, and it's going to like it's potentially going to give you um, an additional disruption when you go second. And then it says if it's flip face up, change all monsters your opponent controls to face their defense position, and their battle positions cannot be changed. So the fact that like it is pretty good that they can't change the battle positions, it kind of permanently removes those monsters, and then it gives you time to be able to amass a board so you can actually attack over stuff. And then we got the Scorpion. So it's got the same pendulum effect, same summon from hand effect. And then it says when your opponent activates a card or effect that would destroy a card on the field, quick effect, you can change this set card to face up defense position. And then it says monsters and Enneacraft spells you control cannot be destroyed by card effects for the rest of the turn. And then it says each time a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard while you control this face up for this flipped face up monster, inflict 900 damage to them. I think this is my least favourite out of them. I think it is pretty good to put on your end board because like obviously if they do try and destroy your stuff, you can stop that happening. But yeah, so like I think like one of the issues with this one is that it's like I think the effect to like the burn damage is like it's just not really gonna matter. Whereas comparing the effect to Leon is actually sort of more like a board breaker. That like Leon is going to be something that you want to be using going second almost all the time. Whereas this one is just a little bit iffy. So I think out of all of them so far, this is the one that I might not be playing three of. And then we've got the field spells. So this card's insane. So it's always treated as an Enneacraft card because it's not an Enneacraft card by name for some reason. And then it says you can target any number of Enneacraft pendulum monsters you control and return them to the hand. That's nuts because that means that you can use the two little ones when you go first. You can search two cards, and then you can bounce them back to your hand, and then you can just special summon them. So it lets you use both of like the full effect, like the pendulum effect and the monster effect of of the little ones on the first turn. And then it says if an Enneacraft pendulum monster you control is flip face up during the main phase, you can return to the hand or place in the pendulum zone one of those monsters. So when you flip stuff on your opponent's turn, instead of letting them just like kill it in battle, you can return it to the hand, and it's just an additional resource for your next turn. So like the follow up on this deck does seem like really good, but I think you just have to get there and you have to be able to amass it into like a win condition. And then the last effect, it says once per turn during the end phase, remove all Synquisition counters from cards you control, and if you do, inflict 900 damage to your opponent for each. I'm not sure how viable a potential FTK is going to be with this deck. I'm not really sure how you're going to amass that many counters to be able to kill your opponent. But yeah, so like just any burn damage is pretty cool. I know that the time rule changes are like the time rules are getting changed soon, so like burn damage will become like less relevant. But like reducing your opponent's life points by any number is like a fine additional effect to have on an already good card, I think. Because like this bouncing effect is insane. And then we've got this card, Enneacraft release. I love this card. So you can only activate one of its name per turn, and then you just place an Enneacraft pendulum monster into your pendulum zone from your deck, which is really good. And then it says if it's in the graveyard except for the turn it was sent there, you can banish it and add a face-up Enneacraft monster from your extra deck to your hand. So it's like additional like follow-up. Yeah, so these are really cool. I've tried like a little Subterra engine in this deck like so far, which is pretty cool because obviously you don't use your normal summon, so you can set your Guru and get yourself a Fiendus to help you protect your board. I've thought about Mimigools, but like I'm not really sure if there's any real synergy there. I think you're probably done putting together two decks that don't have a clear win condition and hoping for the best. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.